Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you. Indiana has been shaped by the sacrifice and service of its residents.
Honor the unexpected Hoosier heroes from past to present. Discover the incredible history of Indiana's only all-black regiment to serve in the U.S. Civil War. Travel to Terre Haute's meeting grounds where drinking a latte can save a life. Meet the Purdue scientists trying to increase safety in sports. And join the Dynamics as they celebrate 30 years of bringing jazz and funk to Indiana. Uncover the courage within our communities.
And the stories you'll only find right here on the Weekly Special.
Welcome to the Weekly Special. I'm Daryl Neer.
And I'm Erica Sagone. On the Weekly Special, we love to shine the spotlight on unsung Hoosier heroes.
Especially the stories that are often forgotten as the past fades into our history books, like our first subject. As the Civil War raged across the nation, citizens campaigned to allow African Americans to volunteer to fight. By 1863, the 28th United States Colored Troops had formed in Indianapolis.
In the summer of 1864, during the final year of the U.S. Civil War, soldiers from Indiana's 28th U.S. Colored Troops fought at the Battle of the Crater in Petersburg, Virginia. Many white officers, including Colonel Henry Thomas, noted the courage displayed by Indiana's only all-black regiment. He wrote that their efforts were excellent, calling them heroes carved in ebony. At the start of the Civil War, the abolitionist Frederick Douglass encouraged President Abraham Lincoln to organize groups of black soldiers to fight for the Union Army.
By the time of mid-1863, the idea was that Indiana could have a black regiment. The black man that volunteered for the 28th and other regiments were, in many cases, the brightest of the bright.
The Reverend Willis Revels, an abolitionist and pastor from Indianapolis, campaigned diligently to ensure the formation of the 28th, writing that such efforts would, quote, finally result in the elevation of our race.
This was a great opportunity for the black man to show that he was as much an American and as much a patriot, as much of a soldier as anyone else.
By the summer of 1864, the Union Army was closing in on the Confederate headquarters at Richmond, Virginia. In order to take Richmond, the Army needed to defeat the rebel troops at nearby Petersburg, where most of the Confederate railroads ran.
The strategy as far as taking Petersburg, if they could just dig a tunnel, that they could pack it with gunpowder, they could light a fuse, blow a big gap in the Confederate line, they could just take Petersburg.
It would come to be known as the Battle of the Crater. And the men of Indiana's 28th U.S. Colored Troops were chosen to lead the assault. For 2 weeks prior to the planned explosion, Union officers trained the black soldiers to prepare for a sudden underground eruption, as well as the sight of a large, jagged canyon caused by such a powerful explosion. The 28th would then lead thousands of federal soldiers around the edge of the chasm to take Petersburg. But as the training was underway, Union General George Meade began to have doubts about the plan.
2 days before the events to take place, there was a change of heart. Suddenly, Meade thought, this is going to look like we're putting these guys out there and that we're going to just use them as cannon fodder.
Meade opted instead to have a deeply depleted division of battle-weary white troops take over the leading assault on July 30th, 1864. When the explosion occurred that morning, the awesome spectacle left the Union troops stunned, silent, and unsure what to do next. Instead of skirting the rim of the canyon, the Union troops wandered into the abyss, creating easy targets for a resurgent Confederate army.
And so the Confederates then fired down and on these people who really didn't have a chance. If they had permitted the black soldiers to do what they were trained to do, there is a much greater chance that Petersburg could have been taken.
In a last desperate move, Union officers finally sent the men of the 28th into the battle. Greatly outnumbered by this point, they nonetheless launched themselves into enemy gunfire and overtook many Southern strongholds. Nearly all had advanced until, by overwhelming numbers, the Confederates finally subdued and defeated the Union troops.
Colonel Henry Thomas wrote an official report afterwards. He gave high credit to not only the 28th, but all of the black troops, saying that they performed exceptionally.
Survivors from the 28th who continued to serve after the battle were ultimately able to join Union forces less than 1 year later, as they successfully marched into Richmond to take the Confederate headquarters and free hundreds of slaves.
The Civil War proved that the black soldier was equal to anything. There was no more fierce fighter than the black soldier. They were very tenacious. No reason to put a color to it at all. He was a soldier.
If you'd like to explore the history and legacy of Indiana's 28th U.S. Colored Troops, visit indianahistory.org.
Many times, Hoosier heroes must rise above social stigma to provide service. And at Terre Haute's Next Step Foundation, that service comes in the form of new starts. When Ron and Dana Simons joined a running program at a local women's shelter, each new step opened their eyes to a growing need in their community.
Most of them were suffering from addiction, and there was really nothing for women only in Terre Haute that would really be a recovery program, not just a homeless shelter, but really would give them the tools and give them the environment that they needed to recover from their addiction. And so we didn't think it would be us doing it, but God had different plans.
Having been a self-proclaimed workaholic, Dana felt that she could relate to the pull of addiction and wanted to help. She left her job as a CEO in the software industry and went back to school, earning a master's degree in clinical social work. When a local church was put up for sale, Ron and Dana took a leap, buying the property and officially launching the Next Step Foundation in 2011.
The church was built in 1892. It was the Washington Avenue Presbyterian Church, and it consisted of the sanctuary and then this extended building next to us, which is kind of the fellowship hall. So it has a tremendous sense of fondness in this community for this church. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback that people are so happy to see it being used, right? So that it doesn't just become one more church that's just in disrepair and falling apart.
Aided by community volunteers and donations, the Next Step Foundation grew from one building to a 6-building complex, providing transitional housing for both men and women. Today, the residential program offers numerous education classes, life skill training like money management, and even a child care program, one of the only of its kind in the Midwest, that provides emotional healing for children of addicts. It's an approach that Dana calls holistic humanization.
When you've been living in an environment where especially with the women. There is no self-esteem. They're living in a dope house. They are reliant upon other people. And most of our people don't have an identity. They don't know who they are. And so they get the task and the joy of figuring out who they are.
For former resident Leslie Sanders, the classes had a dramatic impact. Not only did she rediscover her identity, she also discovered a new career, becoming a certified recovery specialist, and now acts as a Next Step program director.
I had accepted that that was the way I was going to live the rest of my life. I thought that God and everyone had given up on me. I'd given up on myself. And when I heard of this place opening 3 years ago, I knew I had to come here. I knew this place could teach me tools that I needed to have lasting recovery. It's an entire life change. It's not just about coming in and passing a drug screen and going to a meeting every once in a while. It's changing your entire life.
A year after their opening, Dana saw another unique opportunity to help residents combat the ailments of addiction, a coffee ministry. With the help of volunteers, the sanctuary was transformed into a coffee shop, the Meeting Grounds, providing a community gathering space, an opportunity for residents to complete community service hours, learn vital job skills, and earn money towards civil fees. But as Dana explains, the true impact of Meeting Grounds is much deeper.
So the coffee shop was a great way for the local community to try to break the stigma of addiction. And the biggest power that I've seen is not even among the residents and their ability to transition to local community, but it's among the local community. It's among the church members that have never known an addict. It changes their perspective of what addiction is. And when they see it and experience it and understand it better, then the action becomes, I want to help. I want to be part of that.
With my alcoholism and some other things in my life, I feel different. I feel less than. And the way I've been treated here by the people here and by the people outside of here is not that I'm different or less than. They don't look at me like there's something wrong with me. They get a chance to see us as we really are. We're just people with problems that are trying to work on them. I have a family that I've never had before. I'm treated like family and I think of them as family. So it's pretty neat.
And Dana says that tackling the isolation that often results from addiction is an important part of lasting recovery. Meeting Grounds provides a chance to reconnect residents, not just with their local community, but also with their families.
I came into the Next Step Foundation about a year ago. I was incarcerated. I was caught manufacturing methamphetamines, and I've been an addict for 10 years. This is where I wanted to be because I did community service. I wanted to prove to myself, my kids, and my family that I could be a part of the community. My dad comes in here all the time and has coffee, and my kids come in here. My son, Talon, he's 8, he'll come in and he likes to sweep the floor. And then my daughter, Bailey, she likes to joke around with Ron. As a mom, it's awesome because I want my kids to have confidence in me and my abilities to raise them and to provide for them. And they can actually say, this is my mom and this is what she does, and we're proud of her.
Once they realize that they can overcome their addiction, the sky's the limit. You know, my heroine is Maya Angelou, and Maya says, we are more alike than we are unalike. And that's true about addiction. We are more alike than we are unalike. And they are courageous people. They are the most courageous people I have ever met in my life because they have to do what you and I don't do, which is look at themselves and face the demons and deal with the emotional pain that they've been numbing for so long. And so when you see that and you see them come here and hold their heads up and serve the community and be, have the joy on their face and see the kids come back, there's nothing better. There's nothing better.
For more information on the Next Step Foundation or on how to visit the Meeting Grounds, go to nextsteptoday.org.
Well, much of the country tunes into the Super Bowl for entertainment, but at the Purdue Neurotrauma Group, researchers tune in for science.
As part of the Purdue Neurotrauma Group, my main focus is on the biomechanics and how people hurt themselves, and ultimately what can we do to either prevent those injuries or regenerate damaged cells. And at the same time, Larry Leveren's in health and kinesiology and Tom Talavage in electrical and computer engineering, he does mostly neuroimaging kind of stuff. We're all kind of thinking the same thing. We were all very curious about, well, why does one kid get a concussion and another kid who takes a very similar hit is fine? And that was really the question we were trying to go after. So we started working with a local high school football team, actually Tom's alma mater. They are all willing to wear the sensors in their helmets. And then we started bringing them back. Our goal was to bring them back. We'd say when one person got a concussion, we'd bring back somebody else, bring them back and bring back somebody else that had a similar pattern of hits. And I think we're about 5 weeks in and we didn't have any concussions. And so we're just kind of sitting around thinking, we'd really like to image somebody. We'd like to figure out what's going on. So we started just bringing kids in and we started to see that there were a lot of neurophysiological changes even without symptoms. And that was really, you know, based on what we were initially trying to do, is a little bit different. But so in some sense we got a little bit lucky that we were able to find it. But I think most of that was due to the fact that Tom and Larry were doing some really, really careful assessments. Having the preseason baseline was unbelievably valuable, and being able to compare a player in season versus their preseason scan, nobody else has data like that.
It hit me from two angles. Number one, how are we teaching this? But more importantly, what's actually going on the field? The problem was that in the diagnosed concussion, it's a recognizable entity. We pull those players off the field, we give them rest, we evaluate their symptoms, and they're not put back on the field until it's safe for them to do so. With these subconcussive problems, the thing that happens is that they stay on the field. Therefore, they keep on playing, they keep receiving blows to the head. We just need to somehow get our players to, and our coaches and parents to think about how to play smart, how to just tweak their technique just a little bit. And I think certainly that's the technique that we're keying in on, is how do you move that head, how do you block with the shoulder, you tackle with the body, and teaching just a little bit better technique, I think we can affect an awful lot of what's going on. When I talk to groups, I always make the statement that you know, when was the last time you heard anyone talk about that was a great tackle, that was a great block? It's always that was a great hit. And that's the kind of mentality I think that we need to change and get back to good, solid football technique, as opposed to just two bodies running into each other and plastic cracking on the sidelines.
To learn more about the Purdue Neurotrauma Group's ongoing research, visit purdue.edu.
Well, for over 30 years, the Dynamics have entertained audiences across Indiana with their soulful sounds and groovy beats.
I fell in love with music at a very early age. As far as I can remember, I played the piano in church, and that was basically where it all started from. I eventually took a job for General Motors and met Vaughn Mitchell. He's our current bass player and one of the founding members of the Dynamics. Our meeting occurred, I'd say, in the mid-'80s, 85, 86. We were at this particular place called the B.G. Pollard Lodge, and some people have referred to it historically as the Hole. So we ran into some local guys that came in and were kind of jamming until finally, you know, it brought us up to a number of 8 guys, which was a pretty large group, and it really started to gel. Formulated basically what is the Dynamic format. Our music is classic, and it's that type of music I feel is going to always have an audience. We're a collective group of old school musicians that want to put on a good product and make it work for that genre of music, or that classic R&B sound. In order to create a bond and maintain a good relationship in a group, number one, we understand that our goal is to perform music to a high degree. After a period of time, you understand one another, you understand your role, your place in the band. It gives you a sense of wanting to bond with the whole unit. We want to perform so that that bond becomes stronger. And there's always going to be occasions when, the bond's not so tight. Life is ebb and flow with any situation. So we adjust to that. It's been a privilege working with those guys, and the audience can detect that bond. The exchange between an audience and a band is just something that only a musician can describe to you. When you kind of hit your groove and you get that sound, it's euphoric. It's just magical. There doesn't seem to me to be anything more special than to be able to put together an ensemble. When you can perform it together, it's like a well-oiled machine. It works and you don't want to mess with it. You just maybe want to improve on it and try to make it run better. In the years of camaraderie with the guys, they're family. I feel fortunate that we have this type of group. I would say the reason for our longevity is all about the music. So that's basically why we're here today celebrating 30 years of continued success, because we love it. As our band continues to grow, you always look at meeting new challenges. But at the very core of it, the music itself is what keeps us wanting to perform on that level. It's a passion that we all have. We all have the desire to collaborate on a high level and to make something work to a high degree. So it's been a good ride for us.
And now the dynamics.
The dog chased the cat, the spider chased the fly, the monkey chased the weasel till it poked him in his eye. A rooster wants a hen, a ball wants a bat, a thing wants a dong, then I can get to that. You know everybody wants something. I want you. I gotta have the real thing. Nothing less will do. Baby. Day wants night, up wants down, left wants right. A king wants his kingdom, politicians want your vote. I just want to sign up to give me some hope. You know everybody wants something. I want you. I gotta have the real thing. Nothing less will do.
Be sure to follow their Facebook page for the latest announcements and performance schedule. Well, that's all the time that we have for tonight.
Once more before we go, the dynamics.
Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you.